Hi guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays. In this video, I'm going to continue my long-running series, which is basically going through JRPG developers and picking out my favorite games from those developers. I already did one for Nintendo and one for Square Enix, so check those out if you're interested. But in this one, I want to tackle Atlus. Atlus is one of those developers that were here since literally the beginning. Their games are always spot on, well researched, especially when it comes to mythology, and I just feel like there's a lot of love and passion and art put into these games that you probably won't get from other JRPG developers. Atlus games are one of a kind, and you could usually spot them from a mile away. And they don't only make Persona games. So for this video, I'm going to share with you my favorite Atlus games, and there is a Persona game in this list, but I'm not going to put all the Persona games, don't worry. And I also want to add games that are published by Atlus. You will see why in a bit when I get to the list, but even if they published it, I think it's fair game to put on the list. Please hit that like button if you end up liking the video. It does help a lot. And also subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. I'm trying to get to 10k by the end of the year, and hopefully I can do it. So with all that out of the way, let's hee-ho to my list. The first game is already gonna be a bit controversial, and that is Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore. I really love this game, guys, but a lot of people don't, and it didn't really sell well either, which is a bummer. It's one of my favorite Atlus games, and not only is it an Atlus game, it's a Fire Emblem game. Let's get into it. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions was a collaboration project between Shin Megami Tensei games and Fire Emblem. It's a unique spin that often gets misunderstood or ridiculed, which why it's such a fun game, but in my opinion, it's a testament to how creative Atlus could be when it comes to making new RPGs. And when you look at this game on paper, it could kind of seem bonkers, but they made it work into a game with fantastic characters, a good story, and the music is just amazing with awesome gameplay. And by design, the game could theoretically stand on its own. You don't really need to play Fire Emblem or Shin Megami Tensei to enjoy the game, though you know you should. The game takes place in a modern day Tokyo where you play as students who are also idols in training. Beneath the glitz and glamour, a mysterious outworthy threat known as the Mirages are stealing a vital energy called Perfoma. Perfoma is mostly the creative energy in people, so that's why a lot of the people who could fight these Mirages are idols, because they're very creative. And both the protagonist and Tatsuba can form bonds with heroic spirits from different dimensions. Now these heroic spirits are important because these heroic bonds are literally characters from Fire Emblem. So you have your fan favorites Chrome, Sita, Tharja, Viron, and many other characters, including Tiki. And again, I don't know why people don't like this. I really love the premise of this story. I think the key to liking this game is detaching yourself from a Fire Emblem game or a Shin Megami Tensei game and just enjoy it for the game that it is, with a lot of characters that you're familiar with. But the story and premise are not the only good things about this game. I do really enjoy the gameplay. While it's not anything revolutionary, it's still really fun and addicting. It's a traditional turn-based system, but with a little twist of chaining up combos to a ridiculous effect. If you hit their weakness, you can trigger a session action where you and your other party members could automatically follow up with linked attack. And while it's not the hardest by any means, it's actually pretty easy, I still found it very fun and addicting. But anyways, I know I'm beating a dead horse. A lot of people don't like the game, and I have to be okay with that. But I will say, if you haven't played Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore for the Switch, there is a Wii U port, but I recommend the Switch one. Next game on the list is Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. So while Persona 5 is touted to be one of Atlus's most successful games and what essentially put them on the map, I would like to add that Shin Megami Tensei 5 did the same effect, but with introducing new people to the Shin Megami Tensei series. Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance isn't just an enhanced port, it's a full reimagining of the 2021 Shin Megami Tensei 5. I love the naming because 5 in Roman numbers is V, so it's V for Vengeance. Here are both of the games. Vengeance, original. Which one do you like the best? Alrighty, so what is the story? So essentially, the protagonist gets thrust into Diat. I probably pronounced that wrong, but it's essentially a alternate ruined Tokyo, overrun by angels, demons, and forgotten gods from mythology. mythology. This is where Atlus's love for mythology really shines through, because you can tell like they know their stuff. When you read the little entries for each character, you're like, wow, I want to look that up, and then you get stuck into a rabbit hole of mythology characters. Well, that's what happened to me anyways. The protagonist then gets saved by this machine, and then they come together to create the Nahubino, which is basically half human, half demon or machine. I don't know. But you're super powerful and you can now do flashy attacks. Speaking of flashy attacks, let's talk about the combat. First, it has the iconic Shin Megami Tensei press turn system. If you guys don't know, the press turn system is basically if you hit an enemy in its weakness or it's a critical, you then gain an extra turn. But be careful, because the enemies could do the same to you. Shin Megami Tensei games are known to be hard, especially against Persona games, and this is probably why. But it's another reason why a lot of people love the gameplay in Shin Megami Tensei. So while the protagonist is really strong, you still need to have demons as allies. And that's where the demon recruitment comes in. You could use logic, bribery, or humor to get them on your side. So you're gonna really want to take the time to analyze the demon. Or you could just throw caution to the wind and see what sticks. That's what I did. So all in all, I highly recommend Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. It's what got a lot of people, including me, into the Shin Megami Tensei series. So the next game is a bit different because it was published by Atlus, but not really made by Atlus. And this game is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, one of the most bonkers stories in JRPG history, and I love it. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim was made by Vanillaware, which they're really good buddies with Atlus because Atlus published their game. Now, Vanillaware is known for their gorgeous art style and 2D action games like Odin Spear and Marasma. You follow these 13 characters across multiple timelines, each with their own unique perspective on this ongoing mystery. This game has time travel, sci-fi elements, world-ending stakes, and I love the pacing of this game. It starts off very mysterious, but it keeps that mystery going while having different stories going on. So you're really wondering what the heck is going on throughout the whole story, which makes you want to play it. It's not just a visual novel, it does have gameplay mechanics, but it's separated. Even when you play the game for the first time, you have the option of doing story stuff first or gameplay stuff first to make it for a more fun experience, and I think that it worked really well in this case. It's essentially a tactical RPG, and each of the students has their own mech, which is pretty cool. And each student pilots their unique mech, like the big bulky one, the light flying one, the one that's good with combat, or the one that's good for a lot of area damage. You could upgrade your mechs down the line, giving them more power, cooldown times, things of that sort. And it's funny because if you show somebody a map of the gameplay, it could kind of be overwhelming, but just know that the gameplay is not that hard. It's just a lot of clutter. And honestly, I really think the narrative is the best thing about this game, but some people might like the gameplay, but I didn't really like it as much as the story portions. 13 Sentinels is a huge gem that I recommend any of you guys play. It is fantastic and beautiful. And funny enough, it's my second ever platinum game. I don't know if that really does anything, but yeah. The next game is one of Atlus's most recent remasters, and that is Raidou Remastered. The story for this game is really unique. It takes place in the 1930s-ish, 1920s, so it has a very vintage style to it. I will keep this brief because I did do it before you buy for Raidou, so check that out. You play as Raidou Kuzunoa the 14th, who moonlights as a detective because Raidou is special because he has devil summoning powers. Honestly, this game is weird but cool. Stuff that wouldn't work but actually do work really well. It's definitely not everybody's cup of tea, I will say that. And the story doesn't really go for anything too big or too grand. It does its own thing, and I really love it for that. The gameplay is different, especially when it came out. It was an action RPG instead of the traditional turn-based RPGs. Depending who you ask, some people really love it, while other people really don't enjoy it. I myself really do love it, but it does suffer from a lot of jankiness, even in the remaster. That said, Raidou is still a great game, especially for its time, but the pacing feels a little bit slow sometimes, and the backtracking could be really annoying. So it's definitely a game that your mileage may vary, but I honestly honestly really enjoy it. Next, we have one of Atlus's most unique and out there games in recent times, and that is Metaphor ReFantazio. And honestly, nowadays when there's remakes and remasters everywhere, seeing that a company who's known for a specific thing do something different and it still do well, it's just a testament how creative Atlus really is and how passionate they feel about their games and the worlds. The style of the game is bonkers. When you look at some of these enemy designs, you're like, what the heck am I looking at? The whole vibe of the game is something special. Metaphor ReFantazio is set in a new universe, disconnected from Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, with its own world building, mythology, and characters. So what is this game about? Well, essentially it's about a young boy going on an adventure to figure out who he is and his purpose. And along the way, they meet like-minded folks who become his friends, which is basically every JRPG, but there are certain things that are different with Metaphor. And the world building is one of the game's strengths. As you explore the diverse regions filled with lore, hidden secrets, and side quests, it really gets you invested into this world, which is a big undertaking with a new IP. So I give Atlus kudos for doing that. The different characters are also fantastic. My favorite is Thol. And while the characters do fit an archetype, I feel like they explore their different archetypes in a unique way. Speaking of archetypes, that is the new main function when it comes to the gameplay. The archetype system is essentially a class system where you get to choose different classes with different attacks. Not only can you change your protagonist archetype, you can also change your party member's archetype, which makes it a very customizable gameplay experience. The battles are a lot like Persona games, which emphasizes hitting the weakness. If anything that's in common throughout all Atlus games is hit the enemy in its weakness. It will be the best. One takeaway from Metaphor ReFantazio: new IPs are still wanted. Heck, they're needed. Hey guys, sorry if I look different. It was really stormy outside. I just couldn't record, so I decided to wait a bit. And while it is still raining outside, it is not as loud. But you know what place is always rainy? Inuba. Inuba is in our next pick, Persona 4 Golden. That transition sounded better in my head. I wanted to put a Persona game, I just didn't want to put all of them, so I picked my favorite, and that one is Persona 4 Golden. Not everybody knows the Persona series. It is timeless, it is classic, it is fun, it is engaging, and it's one of Atlus's most successful series to this date. Yeah, this game is well known. I don't really have to sit here and explain to you the concept of Persona and what it is, because you probably already know. I'm just here to tell you why Persona 4 is my favorite. First of all, the setting of Inuba. It's a small town, and it's a very cozy place, but it's also very mysterious. Now, your protagonist is a stand-in protagonist, of course. Basically, he was sent to live with his uncle in Inuba because his parents were too busy. It starts off as a very peaceful change of pace from, the big city where the protagonist came from into something more cozy and cute like Inuba. But then a long series of events starts to happen where there are people vanishing during the foggiest nights. Also, there's a rumored midnight channel that shows people's faces on TV just before they disappeared. So naturally, you and your band of new friends want to try that out. And in there, they summon their personas. With the power of the persona, you and your friends try to solve the mysteries of what the heck is going on, in a kind of pseudo Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. vibe. If you ask anybody what's their favorite Persona game, it's honestly really personal, so I don't want to say Persona 4 is the best among all of them, because that's not true. It's just my favorite because of the themes and how it resonated with me. And our last game is another collab between Vanillaware and Atlus, and that is for Unicorn Overlord. The game goes back to its medieval times where magic and fantasy were everywhere. But don't let this old school fantasy aesthetic fool you. Unicorn Overlord is one of the smartest, most refined, and downright addictive tactical RPGs, but it does play a lot with the traditional story beats, and unfortunately that's why it's not one of my favorites, mainly because the story played it a little bit too safe, but the gameplay does carry it a lot. And the gameplay is very, very meaty. Like, there's a lot of different things going on, and I really don't want to explain it here because it's a lot, but trust me when I tell you the gameplay is fantastic. There's also combat animations which you could watch or you could skip with beautifully detailed art thanks to Vanillaware. The game rewards people who think strategically before entering a battle because they give you a bunch of info on the enemy and what you're going to be facing, but it doesn't reward people that go in without knowing. Usually I fell into both camps, so I highly recommend Unicorn Overlord. While the story wasn't the best, I feel like the gameplay really takes the cake. While strategy RPGs are not really my favorite amongst the subgenres, it is still a really great genre, and Unicorn Overlord really added to that. In conclusion, I love Atlus games. They're one of the best, most unique experiences on the JRPG scene, and even though I don't gel well with a lot of their business practices, their games are just amazing, especially recently because they've been spitting out new IPs, remakes, remasters with no slowing down anytime soon. I just wish they would stop milking the poor cow that is Persona 5. Leave it alone. Let me know your favorite Atlus games in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you liked the video and consider subscribing if you're not yet subscribed. I'm trying to get to 10k by the end of the year and I hope we could do it. So with all that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.